my name is David Labarbera, and in the next couple of minutes I'm going to talk about our work called Crowdsourcing Truthfulness, the impact of judgment scale and assessor bias. So first of all, let me introduce you to the context in which this work takes place. We know that credibility of online information may vary a lot, and we also know that the presence of untrustworthy information has big implication on our safety online. So, given that the majority of people access social media, misinformation can be used toward influencing the decision-making process. To this purpose, it is fundamental to understand how people perceive the truthfulness of information presented to them, and to this aim, we investigate if the crowd can assess the truthfulness of online information statements. So, to specifically describe the context in which this work takes place, we checked for fake news evaluation in a crowdsourcing scenario. We used the MTAR platform for this, using multi-level truthfulness scales. Our research questions here are to study the agreement and the correlation between crowd and expert, and also to investigate the effect of the adopted judgment scales and of assessor bias on the performance judgments. We used for our work a subset of the PolitiFact dataset that includes more than 12,000 statements from US politics. Each of these statements is annotated by an expert fact checker using a 6-level scale that goes from pants on fire for a complete lie to true. Our experimental setup includes 120 statements, 20 for each level of the 6-level scale. Each of our statements is going to be evaluated by 10 distinct workers for a total of 400 hits. Each of our hits is going to be composed by a brief questionnaire and 8 statements. 3 of these are from a Republican speaker, 3 are from a Democratic speaker, and 2 are going to be used as goal questions, so to check the quality of our data. We use 2 evaluation scales, the 6-level original scale, we call this S6, and the 101 level scale in the range from 0 to 100 that we call S100. So let's summarize our results, and let's start from the raw judgments we collected. We have here, and this is going to be valid for the next slides, the plot for S6 on the top and the plot for S100 on the bottom. We propose the score on the x-axis and the frequency on the y-axis. The red line on these plots shows the cumulative frequency. We can see here that workers tend to use fewer values than those available, and this is especially true on the S100, where we can see 3 high peaks. Here we can also see that the middle value, 50, is also frequently used, as well as some values multiple of 10. We then aggregated our judgment for each statement. As I said before, each statement is evaluated by 10 different workers. Here the plots are similar as before, but we can see that judgments are more evenly distributed, and we can also see that values at the lower end of the scale are much less frequent, as we can see. So we can say, thanks of that perhaps a 2 or 3 level scale would be more appropriate for this kind of task, and we aim to verify this claim in future work. So recalling that each statement is evaluated by 10 different workers, we aggregated each judgment given by the worker for a statement to obtain the mean value for each statement and compare this value with the ground truth given by the expert. We have these 2 plots where on the x-axis we have the ground truth, the referring ground truth, and on the y-axis we have the mean value for the 2 scales. We can see here that there's an overall agreement between the crowd and the expert, but there's a lower agreement on the lower part of the scale, especially for the lie, false, and barely true. I recall that lie corresponds to pants on fire. Anyway, there's a very similar behavior for both S6 and S100. We then used the questionnaire data to check for assessor bias, and we obtained 2 sets of workers, a set of workers represented by the blue dots inside the corresponding box plot who voted for the Democrat Party in the last election, and a set of workers represented by the red dots who voted for the Republican Party in the last election, and compared their behavior when evaluating all the statements. We can see here that assessors who voted for the Republican Party tend to assign higher truthfulness scores, and it is especially true for the lie and false ground truth. I recall that lie corresponds to pants on fire. We can see that there's a similar behavior for both S6 and S100. We then split our statements to verify the behavior of workers, of the two sets of workers, when evaluating statements from a Republican source and when evaluating statements from a Democrat source. We use the same color as before. We can see here that true statements obtain a higher score value from crowd assessors who voted for the Speaker's party, as we expected. And we can also say that Democratic assessors tend to be more skeptical than the Republican ones, and this is due a lower average judgment score for the untrue statements, represented by the minimum value on the median line. To summarize our results, there's a clear effect of the assessor's political background on truthfulness judgments, and we can say that assessors tend to trust more the content that is aligned to their own personal beliefs. Also, we can say that assessors seems to have a preference toward coarse grain scale, as they tend to use a few extreme values rather than all those available. To conclude my presentation, I'll leave you here a link to our dataset so you can play with our data if you want, and a list of all our contacts. So thanks for listening and bye.